not going to go through the whole selected spiel again, but I would really recommend that you register if you haven't already. With selected. So this is what Eric was talking about in the beginning. This is something I 100% would have used if I were a teacher. Again, it's completely free. You'll find that within, like, you build a profile, it takes what, 15 minutes, Eric? It's like about 15 minutes. And then within like 5 days, I think on average, people get what, 3 to 4 matches or something within the first week? Within the first week, which is awesome. Versus when you're using like the New York City, what's it called? Teach? I can't. That system is so ridiculous. But it's so confusing. It's hard to navigate. Half the time they're just putting your resume in a stack and they're not even looking at you. This actually matches you with schools that you know that you're going to work with, that you're going to work well with, that match your preferences. I highly recommend it. Sorry. Skipping through this. All right. So let's skip that. So does everybody have the handout for building building respect and establishing authority? I think you should have it on your desk. Raise your hand if you don't have it. Okay.
This one.
Yep, it's the one that's in black and white. It looks like this. All right, you got it? So the first thing that I think that a good way to start this is to think about an authority figure that you had in your life that just had like a powerful effect on you. And a lot of times it's a teacher. A lot of times it's a boss or like a supervisor that you had. But it's just somebody who inspired you to be your best at something or inspired others, like a favorite teacher that you had. Does anyone know right away who theirs is?
It's not a teacher, but a guidance counselor.
Great.
My father.
Awesome. Okay, so write the name of that person down, whoever it is. Does anyone not know who the person is? If you don't have an idea of who the person is, I sometimes like to think about a person that I don't know, that I just observe, that I think is powerful. Okay, and then the next question is, how did that person make you feel? And then when you're done with that, start thinking about what was powerful about the person, about how they acted, or about what they did. Is there? That looks like a speaker. I know I screwed this up. Sorry. Okay, does anybody want to share? You don't have to. Okay, just keep that person in mind throughout the rest of this workshop. You want to just remember somebody that was powerful, that had some kind of an effect on you and inspired you to be your best. Why do you think we want to keep that in mind? Yeah. So the story I always like to tell is, for me, when I first started out teaching, I was like an eager beaver, and I was super excited to be a teacher, and I was like, the world is not ready for how great I'm going to be. Like, I was like, I'm going to be the greatest teacher anybody has ever seen. And then I started out, like, my first day, and there's kids just like, it's like a pinball machine. They're just like, running around, not listening at all, none of my plans. Like, I didn't follow anything that was on my schedule because the kids did not listen at all. And I was using all the strategies that people told me to use, but they weren't working. And so my principal was like, I want you to observe LaShonda, who's this teacher she ended up becoming a principal. She was down the hall, and she's like, I want you to observe her and just watch what she does. And I went into her class, and this is a kindergarten classroom, 32 kids. Literally every single kid was doing exactly what she said. She would walk around, she'd be like, all right, I want you to fold your hands like this. And the kids were like, and I'm like, are you some sort of a wizard? She would walk around, and if a kid wasn't folding their hands, she would just go like this. Like that. And just walk around, and they just did it. But she would walk around, so I started paying attention to what she did, and I realized I could do it too, because a lot of it was the way that she carried herself and the energy that she had and the confidence that she had, whereas I was like this. I was like, okay, I need everybody to stop talking right now and listen. And they're just like, listen to this lady. But she had confidence. Like she knew that they were going to listen. She knew whatever she said, they were going to do it. And that's what half of it is. And the good news is that's acting, guys. That's just acting. And if you practice that, you can do it too. So that's what today is all about. Where did I put my clicker? Thank you. Okay.
Mind if I share a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I had a guidance counselor by the name of Bill Ford, and he had helped me, and he had even had a relationship contact with my mother, even though he contacted my mom while my mom was working. And how did Mr. Ford make me feel? It made me feel uncomfortable at first because I was like missing the instruction that my teacher proposed. So like I was pulled out for like guidance counselor being a related service, but it gave me a sense about how I'm going to be successful in life.
I like that you said it was uncomfortable at first, because it can be, right? Things that are powerful usually are uncomfortable at first if you think about it.
Yeah, because whenever I'm being pulled out, I'm missing all of the things that my teacher is teaching that I need to gain.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. Who wants to read? You can shout them out.
Sorry, tonight, but I'm actually going to say today.
You can.
Today you will learn public speaking techniques that help you appear and feel more confident and powerful.
Second one.
Which common responses to students' behavior diminish power and weaken relationships, and which responses build respect and strengthen relationships?
How to follow through and address misbehaviors using the least invasive strategy.
Beautiful. Okay, powerful presence. This part is I think this is so fascinating. So this is Sheryl Sandberg. She's the CFO of Facebook?
Yeah, yes. CEO, COO.
So they did a study. This is crazy. They did a study that as far as communication, we focus on our words as teachers, right? So much. What words we're using, exactly what words to use, how to explain things. 55% of what we communicate is body language. At 38% is tone, and 7% is the words that you use.
Verbal.
Isn't that insane? The actual words that you use, 7% is the words that you use. The rest of it is just what you're doing with your body and how you're saying things. So why do you think why did I open with this?
How she sits and then how she presented herself.
Mm-hmm. Right. So how you present yourself is going to be everything when it comes to classroom management.
And she's like multi-millionaire.
Right. Exactly.
Super successful.
Exactly.
Woo! Another one.
Mm-hmm. Versus, okay, so this is, so in the animal kingdom, this is just a side note, but in the animal kingdom, if you think about it, animals that are powerful to make themselves larger, right? To show dominance, like the way that I'm doing right now. Shoulders are back, maybe your legs are slightly apart, maybe you even have to put your hands on your hips, right? Think about dudes when they're about to fight with each other, like, yo, like puffing their chests up. We're animals. We're trying to establish dominance. When you're trying to show that you're submissive or you're scared, you close yourself up, right? You do this. You might do this. You might touch your face. It's like you're protecting yourself. You might sit down. Your shoulders might slump. So you can. But the rest of the study also showed that you can fake it till you make it. So if you act powerful and you put your shoulders back and you act like you're trying to establish dominance, people actually think of you as more powerful, even if you don't feel powerful. And then you feel more powerful in turn, which is kind of insane if you think about it.
I remember when I was doing one of my NTPA videos, I actually folded my arms, and then when my cohort critiqued on my lesson, they critiqued on my appearance, it said that that implies negative body language because at that time my arms were getting tired while I was doing all this. But at that time I was still checking the students' work for understanding.
Right. Yeah, no, you have to think about it so much. And you'll find that who's videotaped themselves, watch a video of themselves. Was it horrible? Oh my God, isn't it the worst? You're like, oh. Yeah, no.
And that was for when I was doing in the middle of doing my NTPA video.
Right. And you watch it and you just think I remember watching it and thinking, I wouldn't listen to me either. Like I sound like I'm talking to my friend about like going to the bar on Saturday night. Like I'm just like this,
And another thing, even my voice as well.
Tone.
Even though I sound deep, by the time when I listened to it, I felt like I was talking like I was a geek.
I know, nobody likes the way their voice sounds on video. So I would recommend watch a video of yourself, cringe and hate it, but do it anyway, because you'll notice what your tells are, and you'll notice what makes you appear weak and fidgety. So the first thing is your head, right? Like you want to have your head high when you're teaching. You don't want it to be down like this. Shoulders are back. This is a huge one. Even right now, it's like, right? You're like adjusting yourself while you're thinking about it. Shoulders are back. The trick that I like to use, and this is sort of like a yoga thing, but I picture that there's a string attached to the top of my head that's pulling me up like this, and that helps you to sort of stand tall, and then just relax a little bit, but it helps you to get your posture in check. This is a made-up statistic. I completely am making this up. I would be willing to guess that 70% of you, this is going to be your number one thing, is fidgeting with something, playing, touching your nails, touching your hair, just something with your hands that's going to make it seem like you're not serious. So that's the thing to watch the most. I used to just do this.
I do that all the time too.
Because it helps you control. It also helps when you're really annoyed with a student, so you're like squeezing your hands behind your back. You're like, do you want to get started on your work anytime soon? Well, my nails are digging into my palm. When you get a chance, could you just start your work?
This actually reminds of a movie that I've seen a lot, which is The Kane Mutiny, which is Humphrey Bogart's movie, for which he played a no-nonsense captain who has a history of mental instability. Keep using his ball bearings to control himself.
You could do that. Okay, another thing is to move around the room as much as you can. This is a little harder. And if you're on the carpet, actually, this is more for high school. If you have a carpet, which you will in elementary school, that doesn't apply as much because you're sitting and you have like an easel most of the time, right? And try to make eye contact with the students. If you're going to find that there's some students that you make more eye contact with others for whatever reason, just try to spread it around as much as you can. Your tone, try to make it enthusiastic, animated, confident, and formal. This was a mistake that I made, is I would always have like this really informal tone because they're little kids. But then what they hear is like, this person's my friend. So instead of saying, I would say things like, guys, can you guys line up? Or can you guys stop? It's like a very informal way of speaking to people. And they know, like they catch on to it. So just try to have a little bit of more of a formal register. I'm going to see if this works, and I hope that it does. He's the master. It's like, so the reason I want to show this video is because, and I hope it works. Do you think it will, Eric?
On the biography of Obama as part of my NTPA
Might work.
segment.
Just watch the volume.
No.
Maybe one of the try.
It won't work, right? So the reason I wanted you to see Obama is because he is a phenomenal public speaker.
Oh, definitely.
Phenomenal. And also because he just, yes. Thanks, Eric.
This is your victory. Now, I know you didn't do this just to win an election. I know you didn't do it for me. You did it because you understand the
My main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today. It's the idea held by generations of citizens who believe that America is a constant work in progress, who believe that loving this country requires more than singing its praises or avoiding uncomfortable truths. It requires the occasional disruption, the willingness to speak out for what is right, to shake up the status quo. That's America.
Oh, yes. Sorry. We'll keep watching, but start thinking about what he's doing with his body and with his hands and with his voice. I know, right? I know.
I've seen them all.
Facts, evidence, reason, logic, an understanding of science. These are good things. These are qualities you want in people making policy. Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know. Obama.
I watched them all.
They're all great. So what's he doing with his body?
He does a lot of like leaning in.
That's actually a good one. I didn't even think of that. When he's saying important parts.
Stands tall, shoulders back.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he's saying something kind of like listen.
Yep. For emphasis.
And he looks around the whole room.
Mm-hmm. He pauses, right, and lets it sort of sink in what he's saying.
He paused when he was saying about the Sandy Hook massacre. He paused while he was trying to regain his composure emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's not too dramatic. He gives you enough emotion to get his message across.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's even killing you.
Exactly. Anything else? So he's somebody that I actually like to channel a lot of times. If you watch enough of these videos, you can you check yourself. You're like, how would Obama be standing? How would Obama be saying this? And it helps you to. It's like acting. That's what acting is all about. Is you're just imitating somebody, honestly. Okay, so we're gonna do an activity. Are you ready? Don't be nervous. So you're gonna have a partner. Is it easier? Should I assign you somebody? You want to do A, B, A, B, E, B, or do you want to just pick someone? Okay. So pick a partner, and someone's gonna be A and somebody's gonna be B. So just decide that. Try and do it quickly because we're behind as usual. Okay, partner, did you decide who's partner A? All right, partner A. Partner B?
I'm A.
Okay, A. B. All right, cool. So this is a simple activity, but it's really powerful. It's a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's going to really help you. So this is the quote. Who wants to read this? My Angela quote. Is it great? Okay, so that's the quote that you're going to practice. And partner A is going to practice saying it. And partner B is going to give them feedback. And I'll show, actually it's already shown, using these guidelines. So you're going to try to say it. You're going to stand up. You're going to try to say it with your head high, with your shoulders back. It's harder than it sounds. It's awkward. It's really awkward. And then partner B will give feedback. So for example, we'll do it, pretend that you're all partner B and I'll be partner A. Okay. People forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So your partner B, give me feedback. Tell me what I did, what I need to work on.
Tone.
Confidence.
Good.
Next time try pausing.
Pause after each of the commas, right?
Eye contact.
Eye contact, right? I was looking up. I was like this. Anything else? Okay, so does everyone know what you're supposed to be doing? It's going to be, let's do 4 minutes, and partner A is going to go. You'll get some feedback. Then partner A is going to go again at implementing the feedback, and then we'll switch, and partner B will go.
So are we both standing?
No, I mean, whatever makes you comfortable, actually. Maybe that's more comfortable if everybody's standing. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Yeah.
People forget what you said. That's why I gotta practice. People forget what you said. They forget what you did. So you will never forget how you made them feel.
Are you too shy? Who's shy over here? Good. I like it.
That's why I have to say, take one and take two, because I get a little bit shorter when I write that.
But they'll never forget how you made them feel.
People forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
So people are gonna forget what you did. People are gonna forget what you said. But they will absolutely never forget how you made them feel.
You guys are good.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
A little nervous, but I've been nervous because, you know, hands,
Okay, you ready? Oh, so A and B. Should I do it again? And just to make sure that I'm fully confident. What you said.
Tell me you critique the bad. I'm tough on that.
I did this same activity when, like, years ago for one of my PDs, and they made us do a whole poem. And I think, my poem was "Ain't I a Woman?" And I was like this, and "Ain't I a Woman?" Like so awkward, so awkward. It was horrible. And they're like, "Cut!" the whole time. They're like, "Stop." That's a hard poem. Public speaking is really hard.
Everybody has to do it enough.
Yeah.
Learn from it and get confident.
Totally. And you have to keep trying to get better. Like, you watch videos and you're like, I'm still doing it. Like, All right, it looks like everybody's just about done. Does anybody want to share what their tell is? Do you know what a tell is? So when you play poker, if you're trying to gamble and like A tell is like what you do that shows people that you're lying, you're bluffing, and everybody has one. And so it's like, what do you do when you're nervous? Does anybody have like one that they didn't even realize that they did? That they got feedback on? Sorry, that was the timer for this. So like my tell is that I touch my hair, right? That's a huge tell, and I'm like, stop. I have to make myself stop.
I swear.
Sway. That's another one.
My hands shake a lot.
That's so hard because you can't control it.
And it just, yeah.
The only thing you can do is you can try to put them behind your back. Yeah.
What I remember doing, what Damaris observed me, is that she saw my shoulders going back,
Yeah.
and I can remember that I had to, the first 2 tries, I had to say, take 1, take 2.
Mm-hmm. That's good because you're aware. That's good that you're aware of it. Okay. Building strong relationships with kids. So a lot of people misinterpret building strong relationships with kids. It doesn't mean that you're having one-on-one conversations with students all the time talking about feelings. It means that like every single second that you're in the classroom, you're building a relationship with the child, and you don't even realize that you're doing it, right? And it's in the way that you address them. It's in the way that you interact with the rest of the students. It's in how patient you are. One of the biggest ways that you can build a relationship with a kid is to assume the best. Even if you already are 95% sure that they kicked the other kid under the and they're like, I didn't. You act like you assume the best all the time. Why? Or start at least by having an open conversation. What happened?
You should give her the benefit of the doubt. You don't want to just blame what she says.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably start to respect you more
Mm-hmm.
and do what you expect.
Yeah.
And it's also a teaching moment because you still have to get information about what exactly happened. So you're teaching them, and it's a teaching moment.
Yep, absolutely. And you're trying to get as much information from them as possible. They're not going to give you information if they think that you think they're guilty. Right? It's calm, neutral, and anonymous when correcting. So I use the word correcting, but it's basically when you're addressing any kind of misbehavior. Calm, neutral, and anonymous. So calm is obvious. Neutral is to try to just use a neutral tone. So not angry, not condescending, not frustrated. It's actually just not helpful. It's not even about the way the student feels. It's just not helpful. And anonymous. So you don't have to say a kid's name every time they do something. And
Say it to everyone.
yeah, you can just say it to everybody, or you can just look at them, and we're going to go over it. But our instinct, I feel like, is always, as teachers, Michael, put that away. I'm trying to think of, I forget kids' names. Tanya, stop, put your feet, move your feet. Every time you say a kid's name, you're making them feel a certain way, and it's public. It's in front of all of their friends. So think about, even if they deserve it, even if you told them 17 times to put their feet under the desk, it's still, you're making a spectacle of them, right? You don't need to say their name. You can just say,
Don't target on someone.
yeah,
And that also states that you're not being, like as a teacher, I'm not being equal to all other students.
right.
Not
You don't,
equality.
right. So calm, neutral, and as anonymous as possible. You're going to have to say their name sometimes, but most of the time you don't. You'd be surprised. Focus on the lesson. So this is another trick that we also forget to do because we're annoyed. So it's like this. I'm going to pretend that I'm teaching. So teachers break rules too. There are lots of rules that we encounter every single day. So you're going right back to the lesson, right? It's almost this like invisible correction that nobody really saw. And you're focused on teaching and not this behavior. If you take, versus this, which is, teachers break rules too. There are lots of rules. Like, do you feel that moment where you're just like, oh, yeah, you're probably going to stop doing what you're doing, but it causes all these feelings where everybody's like, that was mean, or like, and the student is probably the rest of the time going to be thinking about how embarrassed they are. Just correct them and move on. Go right back to the lesson. It makes them feel like they're forgiven, right? And show respect for all at all times. So there's going to be moments where you don't want to do this. Does anybody ever, be completely honest, has anybody had a moment that they're not proud of, where they really got frustrated with a kid? I like every single. She's like, can I put 2 hands up? It's going to happen. It's going to happen all the time. The important thing is that you're reflective about it, and you think about, did that child do something wrong? Yes. Have I told that child 1,500 times not to do that? Yes. But they still did it, right? And you being disrespectful to them or making them feel bad about it is probably not going to change their behavior. What's going to change their behavior is the strategy that you use, right? So, but the other thing that I mean by this is, so showing respect for the students, but obviously also showing respect for other people. So when you go to the cafeteria, how are you treating the custodians? How are you treating the most of the time it's women who are giving them their lunch? Are you teaching them to say thank you? Are you teaching them to say please, right? Are they allowed to leave their garbage everywhere and line up? Because think about how rude what that's teaching them is like people are just going to clean up after them. So don't just show respect for the kids, but show respect for everybody. You're modeling that behavior for them, which they may or may not be getting at home, right? Oh, I love this. This is
From
the Breakfast Club.
Team,
Principal Vernon.
attack
Yep. This is Principal Vernon. So let's see how he does at building
during
relationships.
detention.
Yeah.
I watch that a lot.
Why aren't you working? No.
Remember?
Andrew Clark. Yeah, my front center. Let's go.
How come Andrew gets to get up?
Yes.
If he gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy.
Watch the magazines.
It's out of my hands. That's very clever, sir. But what if there's a fire? I think violating fire codes and endangering the lives of children would be unwise at this juncture in your career, sir.
All right. What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here. What's the matter? Come on.
You know, the school comes equipped with fire exits at either end of the line. Show Dick some respect.
Let's go. Get back to the seat. I expected a little more from a varsity letter. You're not fooling anybody, Bender. The next screw that falls out is going to be you. What was that?
Eat my shorts.
You just bought yourself another Saturday, mister.
Crushed.
You just bought one more right there.
Well, I'll free the Saturday after that. Beyond that, I'm gonna have to check my calendar.
Good. Because it's going to be filled. We'll keep going. You want another one? Say the word. Just say the word. Instead of going to prison, you'll come here. Are you through?
No.
I'm doing society a favor.
So?
That's another one right now. I've got you for the rest of your natural born life if you don't watch your step. You want another one?
Yes.
You got it. You got another one right there. That's another one, pal.
Cut it out.
You through?
Not even close.
Bye. Good. You got one more right there.
You really think I give a shit?
Another. You through?
How many is that? That's seven. One more when we first came in the house.
Now it's 8. You stay out of it.
So it's 7.
Shut up, Pee-wee. You're mine, Bender. For 2 months, I got you. I got you.
What can I say? I'm thrilled.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly what you want these people. You know something, Bender? You want to spend a little more time trying to do something with yourself and a little less time trying to impress me. You might be better off. Right, that's it. I'm going to be right outside those doors. The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
Okay. Which is like, I know, I realized I watched that as an adult and I was like, you'd get in big trouble for saying that. So what did he do a good job at building relationships?
That was not a relationship.
Did he assume the best?
Absolutely
in any way whatsoever? No, right? Did he stay calm? Neutral? Anonymous? He said all of their names. Did he didn't have a lesson, but did he focus on what he was trying to say? Was on the point of what he was trying to say? Not really, right? He's getting sidetracked a lot. Did he show respect for anybody? Even the kid that was helping him. Right. So we can learn a lot from Principal Vernon from that video. These are just some examples of weak responses and powerful responses. Okay, we're going to do the thing again where you shout them out and you're brave. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Come on.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. And I have gifts too.
Hey, I have a bag.
Yeah, you come bearing gifts.
Anyway,
Okay.
one last thing. Today at 2 o'clock is Dr. Meyer's workshop to prepare you for the special education test. Monday, Dr. Fuchs. Everyone should be there. 10 to 1. We'll get you ready for the FPPA part task 4, mathematics, and also if you have questions about teaching mathematics. Then you have in the afternoon Dr. Sullivan's workshop on the EAS. If you want to pass, you go to those workshops. You're all required to anyway. See that? Voluntarily required.
Got it. All right.
All right, think about that. There you go. So think about that, all right? Because it's important. And with the ELA test, if you go on the website, NISTA website, and you sign up for the practice test, which is $20, the full test, just bring in the receipt, attach it to the form, and give you the test books. Okay? Questions? Is that wonderful? I want to thank you.
Thank you.
You did a wonderful workshop.
Yeah, this is great. Everyone's been
Hopefully have you
awesome.
come back and you'll see how wonderful they're going to be doing as
I can't
educators.
wait. I can't wait.
We have how many paras are here? Paras? 3 paras, 1 teacher? And a regular school, charter school?
Yeah, sure.
Charter school.
Cool.
So there you go.
All right.
All
Thanks.
right.
And I'm going to still email you for the voucher.
Right.
Okay. The weak response.
I'm not surprised you don't know the answer. You never pay attention.
Whew, ice cold.
That's me.
Better response.
I'm coming back to you, so get ready.
Okay.
Miguel, push in your chair. You could kill someone.
Ooh, I like those acting skills. I felt that one. Exactly. You don't even need to say anything. You just, that's it. Nobody wants to follow your act because your acting was so good.
Okay, I'm going to be the opposite guy. Girls, there is nothing on any of your papers. I told you to start your work 5 minutes ago. Now you're not going to finish in time.
There's some good acting in this group. You're like, okay, okay.
Looks like most of you are on track to finish by 2:10. If you need help, please ask.
That's nice.
What did you say? You don't care? Well, that's nice. That's gonna get you far.
You will, if you haven't already, you will have a student say they don't care, and you're gonna want to say that. It's so annoying. It just gets to the core of you.
Number 2.
Yeah.
We'll talk, Kyra. Interesting fact about Emily Dickinson. Turn to page 44. You won't believe this.
Right? So just going right back to the lesson. Don't give them attention for that nonsense, right? You can talk about that later. Okay. So respectfully addressing misbehavior. This is when it goes down, which it will.
Losing self-esteem.
Okay, so class rules should be, these are just the basics. Class rules should be easy, simple to remember. Like this is an example. One mic, listen to speaker, respond to the attention signal, work hard. We already went over that in the last presentation. But until you have expectations, you can't address misbehavior because there is no misbehavior. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing, right? They're just trying things. So in order, before you try any consequences, you basically, or address any kind of misbehavior, you have to make sure the kids know what they're supposed to be doing first. Otherwise, it's kind of unfair. It's sort of like if your principal was like, okay, you need to submit lesson plans to me, but doesn't say anything else, and then you send them your lesson plan, and they're like, it was supposed to be here, you were supposed to send this to me on Sunday, and this is the wrong format. You're like, okay, like you could have told me that. It's unfair. It just like, it not only is unfair, but it's going to make you, are you going to A, like the principal? No, you're going to despise them. B, and how are you going to feel about working at that school? Right? Before each lesson and throughout. I would recommend if for lower grades for elementary school, have your rules, and for the first month, go over them every time they come to the carpet. And you don't have to talk about it. It's just like, here's the rules. Every time they come to the carpet. Rule number 1, blah, 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 blah. Rule number 2, show it, show me. Rule number 3, let's see it. Rule number 4, okay, now we can begin. Just keep going over them over and over and over again. Like a broken record. Why is this so slow? Am I going to switch that? I'm like, what? And be consistent. So if what you want is for kids, the thing you want to think about the most is carpet behavior, because that's where the kids are doing all of their learning, right? So think about, this is an example. When they're at the carpet, is it okay if they're sitting on their knees? Is it okay if they're touching the carpet? Is it okay if they want to sit in a different rug spot? Whatever it is that you decide, just decide beforehand and stick to it. If you start bending the rules, they're going to know and they're going to try it constantly. So like if you might have a rule, for example, especially if you're ICT, kids need different things. I would just try to my advice is just try to set the bar really high. Just start with everybody sits on their bottom crisscross. If there's certain like one-to-one things that need to take place, go over that at the time, but just keep the bar really, really high. And then also just be consistent. So like you might want to have a rule like you can't get a tissue at the carpet. You can't go to the bathroom on the carpet, or you can't get water on the carpet. I would have those rules because otherwise they're going to do that the entire time. But just you got to be consistent about it. That's the only thing. You can't bend the rules sometimes. Okay, and then this is the whole next section. Use the least invasive method possible. So, common neutral, again. Least invasive basically means the example that we just gave about a silent signal versus a stare that everybody can hear versus actually saying somebody's name across the room so that everybody can hear it. Those are invasive methods. Those are methods that are going to make a child feel called out and embarrassed in front of their friends, where you can do less invasive methods, which are just as effective and help to maintain the relationship. For this, just take a look in your packet. Did this not print? It's interesting. Okay, the explanations didn't print for some reason. Yeah, this is all going to be online.
Oh, great.
That's interesting. Yeah. I'm going to say that it's, oh, okay, here it is. I'm going to say that it's not my fault, but it probably is. So at this point, what I would do is just read through this, look at the diagram, and just read the explanations in your packet, and just take 2 minutes to read through. So this part here, yep, it explains all of the different strategies. And let's try 2 minutes, and then I'll see if that's enough time. Oh, here. It didn't print? So, oh, there you go. Yeah, here's where it starts. You're welcome. So this goes from less invasive to more invasive, and this is the most invasive. What? Right. Yeah. Okay. Are you just about done? Maybe another minute? We'll do one more minute. Okay. All right, so we're going to do an activity. But this will be sort of a group activity. First of all, are there any questions about this? Okay. Do you feel like you have, these are the two most complicated ones, I feel like, but do you feel like you have an idea of what interactive modeling is? All right, let me just, really quickly, let me just model it for you, because sometimes it's easier to just see it. Interactive modeling is when you have something that you want to show. So for example, if you're teaching second grade, right, and you tell the kids to line up, and you've taught them a bunch of times, right, but they're forgetting for some reason, is if you say, all right, let's line up for lunch, and they're like, boo, and they run to the door and they're all talking. You're not going to do, so this is a whole group problem, right? So you're not going to do individual corrections because there's 17 kids that are not following directions. Bring them back to the carpet. Let's try that again. Let me show you. And it can be a quick thing. Watch, ready? Watch me. I'm lining up for lunch. What do you notice? Yes? Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who wants to try it? Go ahead. Good. What did you notice? Good. So the red table, I want you to try it. That's interactive modeling. So basically, you show them, you get another student to see it, you get a group to do it, and then everybody does it. And it's just better than talking. I mean, think about it. You're going to be teaching in ICT classrooms, a lot of you, or self-contained. They need to see it. You doing, they're not understanding anything, right? So that's interactive modeling. Use that as often as possible in your classrooms. The other, do you understand what proximity is? That's another one you can use a lot that's barely invasive at all. Is if a student is doing something and you don't want them to do, just stand right near them. And yeah, yeah, and most of the time they'll stop. After the proximity is the silent signal. So if they're still not doing it, you just gesture to them, whatever it is. Can you put that away? And then just keep going back to teaching. And you would be surprised, like 90% of the behavior problems in your class, you can actually use this, and it will solve 90% of the problems in your class. And for all of these, you don't have to say any student's name or make any student feel a particular way. So ready for the first scenario? You're going to decide which strategy to use. Where's my clicker? Why do I keep losing it? Okay, so we're going to read the scenario and then to decide which strategy will be most effective. And you can write it down if you want, but it's a group work, so we're kind of just saying it. Brave person to read it. Go ahead.
I'll say the anonymous correction where it's only 5 of them that are talking, right? It's not the whole class. So you may praise the ones that are on.
Oh, the sample you're doing?
When you said scenario.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh.
No, it's fine, but let's do that one. Look at scenario number 1 on your papers.
So it says, you posted the assignment on the board, materials are distributed, the class has started working. 5 students are talking to each other and have nothing on their papers. So again, I will do the anonymous correction where like you may praise the other ones that are on task.
So how would you say that? Like pretend that it's happening.
Good job. For the most part, I have everyone reading the
Most of you.
paragraph and filling out short response.
Yep. And do you see how he also reminded them of what they were supposed to be doing? In case they actually did forget, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's what I'm doing, don't worry. You're like, yeah, it wasn't, but fine. All right, what about for this one? A student is tapping their pencil loudly. Yeah, thank you. What are we going to do?
I usually go up to them and do like a one-on-one, but I'm still talking about whatever I'm talking about.
So what do you mean? So you're going to continue teaching, but just go over and do like a silent signal?
Yeah, I'll just do it. I'll like put my hand on the pencil.
The silent signal, yep. So like if you're tapping your pencil right now, so like this. So remember and you're still teaching, right? Your attention isn't going on them. The mistake that I used to make a lot when I was teaching, and you might make also, is to give a lot of attention to negative behavior when it's not necessary. If you do that, they're going to stop, right? But if you do this, it's distracting to people. The kid's like, yay, I got a whole teacher to myself. Like they like it. They want you to come over and talk to them. So try to do that as little as negative behavior. You want to ignore and not give attention to. Positive behavior, you go in. It's like, what? You start every sentence with a capital letter. That's positive. You're giving them attention for things that you want them to do.
Yeah, what if they keep doing it like forever and they don't stop?
Right. So we're going to get to that. Don't you worry.
That's Carlos, by the way. He's also in my purpose.
Okay, cool. Actually, does anybody want to answer that? You might already know. What do you do if they keep doing it? So you go over to them, and they're tapping. Stop. You go back to teaching. And then they're tapping. And then what could you do next?
Take the pencil.
If I was you, it may be a signal that the student may be thinking, or maybe that student may have like a learning a disability,
They can't control it. Okay. And hopefully you know the student and you know that, right? But say they can control it. Someone said take the pencil, right? Well, what are they going to write with then? Maybe you're teaching and they don't need a pencil right now. So maybe it's one of those things where you just take it and then you keep teaching, but it depends on the kid.
It depends on the kid because
they might
Show a tantrum.
Ooh, yeah.
and that's gonna take away the instructional time.
Yeah, I didn't even do anything. I hate this school. Ooh, yeah.
But like I said, you may have a sign of like that he couldn't control. Like I said, they have a learning disability, or maybe something like
Right.
either down
If they
syndrome,
do, that's a
Tourette,
separate
et cetera,
thing.
et cetera.
Definitely. If they're defiant and they're going to get into it with you, remember Principal Vernon with what's his name? Don't do that. If they're going to get into it with you, just or you can do something like, I'll talk to you in a minute about that. Just something like that so that the other kids see that you're addressing it and they're like, okay, she's got it. She's not just ignoring it, right? But definitely you're going to have that one-to-one conversation if they keep doing it. After a lesson on the carpet, you ask students to go back to their seats and start working. Many of them scramble to their seats instead of walking safely, and about half are talking. What do you do?
That was like a whole group reminder, so it was like a reset, like, oh, let's try it again. And then you verbally say exactly, show them, model them exactly what you want.
Exactly. That's a perfect opportunity for interactive modeling. You might even just need a whole group reminder. If they've done it every time and they just forgot, you might just have to be like, let's try that again. Walk, right? And they're like, okay, sorry. But you only know your class. Okay, students are working in groups. 4 minutes in, one of the groups is chatting, and it appears they haven't started working yet. I think we kind of did this one. This was like kind of like the example. But this is an example of when you want to use positive redirection or an anonymous correction. So some of you haven't started working yet. For those of you who have, great job, you're almost done. If this hasn't happened yet, this will happen. This is a hard one. This is the hardest one. Any ideas?
I would say a private conversation, but without the consequences.
Everyone agree? So what would that private conversation be like?
Like, ask why they're frustrated.
You can start, I have a whole other PD that I did a couple weeks ago that's like just on the one-to-one conversation. But it's good to start as general as possible. Like, what just happened? And, I mean, sorry, my face was a little bit annoyed. But I'm like, what's happening here? Do you have a problem? So saying something like, what just happened out there? You might have to have this the biggest thing is that when you're having the one-to-one conversation, you're having it during your time, a time that's convenient for you. You're not going to stop teaching so that you can have a conversation with a child because they said, I hate this school, right? What? But why? Then nobody else is learning, right? But what message also does that send to the other students? Yeah, like think about it. If you're in that class, like we're grown-ups. Like I'd want to be like, ooh. They're getting so much attention. They get to go talk to a teacher one-on-one in the middle of a lesson. Like that is so much power. That is so much power that they have.
What I was going to say is that whenever like the student says, I hate this school, they felt that they're not used to authority or they're not like having an opportunity to discuss their own concerns or just they're like fearful because of like whatever administration proposes. If
Right.
they're not following, if they cannot adhere to the mission and vision and philosophy of the school.
Right. Or what's another reason that this kid might be doing that?
Doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. Who said that? Yes, that's exactly it. Because think about how annoyed they have to be to yell, I hate this school in front of all their classmates. They're probably trying to divert attention from away from the fact that they can't do the work. So you say, like point, yeah. So or they really just can't access the material. So you doing a silent reminder and pointing to a paper, they're like, yeah, I know, I can't do it, lady. Like I'm not going to admit that in front of all my friends. So part of that is just knowing your kids and considering all those possibilities. But that's definitely a one-to-one conversation. So you would say something like, okay. Like if they say, I hate this school, and they put their head down, actually you don't even have to say anything. If they have their head down, like that's defeated, just give them a second. They're obviously really, really upset. You don't need to say anything yet. But wait a minute and then be like, when it's your time, when it's a good time, come here, I want to talk to you, what happened? You know, that type of thing.
I just wanted to mention,
love Teach Like a Champion.
Yeah, so that's a really, really good. So a lot of